If you're operating in the shadow economy, your focus likely remains on physical risks, cave-ins, police raids, or face-to-face deals gone wrong. Yet the digital kill switch represents a more lethal threat to your survival than any authority knocking on your door. So hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and let's explore exactly what happens when the grid goes dark. Global news networks prioritize images of military parades and foreign airstrikes. This constant coverage centers the public's fear on the physical bomb. A missile strike causes localized, visible damage. Severing the international internet gateway causes a silent, total paralysis, freezing underground money and stripping away the digital anonymity required to move assets safely. For those hunting for hidden wealth or moving goods outside the formal system, a severed fiber optic cable is a far more immediate danger than any kinetic threat from the sky. Decades of heavy international financial sanctions have completely disconnected Iran from the global banking grid. There is no access to Visa, MasterCard, or direct international freelance platforms. This systemic isolation forced the working class and those operating outside formal regulations to build a parallel digital oasis to conduct their business. This is the underground economy, or in Persian, Ektasad-e-Zir Zamini. It is an entire ecosystem operating in the digital shadows. Participants rely on a specific stack of digital tools. They use Telegram to share unrecorded maps and locations, Instagram to source specialized equipment, and Tether to ensure payments remain untraceable. Historically, unregulated domestic trades were driven by physical stacks of banknotes. Today, that entire marketplace exists online. For the shadow economy, an internet shutdown acts as an immediate eviction notice, triggering instant bankruptcy as their only marketplace vanishes. This threat is a proven historical reality. In November 2019, following sudden overnight increases in fuel prices, spontaneous protests erupted across dozens of Iranian cities. The state responded by targeting BGP, the Border Gateway Protocol. This is essentially the postman of the internet, directing the flow of data across borders. This data shows what happens when the government intercepts the postman. Global internet connectivity flatlined to a staggering 4%. To avoid this self-inflicted damage, they accelerated a permanent, isolated solution. This led to the National Information Network, or NIN. This architecture is designed to decouple internal domestic computing infrastructure from the global World Wide Web. The NIN is an intranet, or Shabakeh Dakeli. It is a monitored closed loop, a domestic copy of the internet that the state can control. This diagram compares the global internet in blue to the domestic NIN network in red. When the kill switch activates, the global connection is severed. Access to global apps disappears instantly. Yet the domestic network continues flowing, powering state banks and monitored domestic apps. The completion of the NIN means the state no longer fears the economic damage of a shutdown. They can seamlessly transition to a closed-loop internet, making a total internet blackout a sustainable weapon. The internet in Iran has been transformed into a highly controlled, weaponized domestic utility. For those in the underground economy, activating the NIN means you are instantly trapped inside the state's monitored digital grid. This trap imposes immediate consequences. Domestic bank transfers face strict tracking, foreign buyers are blocked, and the digital signatures required to access decentralized crypto wallets become unreachable. When digital anonymity fails, trades are forced back into the open. Using physical cash for large transactions puts your hidden wealth and your personal safety at risk. The silent, targeted severing of optical fiber cables represents the ultimate threat to your survival, far outweighing the risk of physical warfare from the sky. A digital blackout enforces a state of absolute isolation. To see how ordinary citizens use anti-filtering protocols to fight back, click the next video to explore the black market for VPNs. When the internet goes dark, the story doesn't end, it simply moves underground. For 85 million people, a blackout marks the beginning of a daily search for a way back to the outside world. This search takes place within an invisible, high-stakes game of cat and mouse. On one side are ordinary citizens, and on the other is a multi-million-dollar censorship machine designed by the state. The state's primary tool is Deep Packet Inspection, or DPI. As raw data moves through the network, This technology intercepts each packet, cracks it open, and checks its routing signature for foreign travel. If flagged for trying to reach a global platform, it triggers an immediate block, severing the line before a connection is established. To escape these borders, persistence isn't enough. It requires specialized tools capable of outsmarting the automated traps built into the network. Standard VPNs are often the first things to fail. Because they use predictable, encrypted handshakes, the state's AI can recognize and block them almost instantly. Instead, the resistance relies on more sophisticated, open-source protocols like V2Ray and Shadowsocks to maintain a link to the web. These tools use a method called traffic obfuscation. It functions as a disguise. It takes banned global traffic and wraps it in a signature resembling a local university login. When the DPI scanner checks this disguised packet, it sees only domestic traffic and allows it to pass, reaching the global server without triggering the gate. Maintaining these connections is an exhausting task. Because the state constantly updates its filters, ordinary citizens must spend their days finding and updating the specific scripts needed to keep their apps running. This daily struggle for survival has effectively turned a population of millions into a nation of digital smugglers. Free circumvention tools rarely last long. Local internet service providers hunt down open-source proxies and block them within hours of their discovery. This constant disruption forces citizens into a predatory black market, where they must buy premium monthly VPN subscriptions from underground dealers. This creates a cyclical financial drain. Cash flows from citizens to domestic shell companies, which then funnels directly back into the state-controlled telecom infrastructure used to build the filters in the first place. For many families, this is a mandatory digital tax. They pay it just to keep a small Instagram business alive, or to continue working as a freelance coder for foreign clients. Internet filtering has become a state-subsidized racketeering operation, generating significant revenue while simultaneously isolating the population. Beyond the financial drain, the digital siege has a measurable impact on the human brain. Researchers have documented a state of permanent neurological stress they call chronic connection anxiety. This anxiety is built on daily friction. It is the ritual of switching data networks and changing configurations just to download a file or send a work invoice, never knowing if the connection will hold for more than a few minutes. During a localized protest, this stress turns into collective panic. People rush to their phones to verify if their loved ones are safe, only to find the mobile tower have been throttled, leaving them in a vacuum of information. A physical threat is localized and visible, often leaving a path for escape. A digital blackout is an invisible threat that provides no such exit. It is an invisible cage of sensory deprivation. It disconnects an individual from the outside world and from their own community, leaving them locked in the dark. What is happening to Iran's internet is not an isolated event. The country has become a real-world testing ground for advanced state-sponsored censorship. State engineers are actively refining how to choke encrypted web traffic without accidentally crashing their own municipal and banking systems. Once these deep packet inspection protocols are perfected, they provide a standardized model for digital isolation. Other authoritarian regimes can adopt these same methods to disconnect their own populations from the global web. Totalitarian governments are watching this struggle closely, waiting to see if this model can be successfully exported to create a new kind of Iron Curtain. The ultimate goal of this isolation is to sever the cultural and economic ties of an entire generation of tech-savvy citizens. This forces the youth into a painful choice: remain and face economic stagnation in a closed internet, or leave their lives behind to find digital freedom in another country. While military radars and regional airstrikes dominate the headlines, the most significant struggle is happening on the glowing screens of millions of mobile phones. The defining battle for modern Iran is being fought in the dark, in the exhausting, relentless daily effort of an entire nation trying to remain connected to the rest of human civilization.